number of people killed in Israel since Saturday's horrific terror attack has climbed to 1,200. They are primarily civilians. More than 900 have been killed in Gaza, which is under heavy bombing by the Israeli Air Force.
Defence Minister Yoav Gallant says he has released all restraints on his troops and the enclave will never, ever return to what it was. The escalating violence started when the Hamas terror group crossed into Israel by air, land and sea to carry out that massacre over the weekend.
Well, joining us now is someone who has organised vigils in London and Manchester. President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Marie van der Zijl. Welcome to the show. Marie, an incredibly distressing time for people on both sides of this conflict. Can you just speak a little bit about the vigils that you've been holding over the past few days?
Yes, we've been holding vigils for this unprovoked murder and barbaric murders, I have to say, that have happened to mainly Israeli civilians. The purpose of the vigils are for Jews and those Israelis in the UK to come together in unity and in grief. And in London alone, there were about 4,000 people, and it's a really traumatic time. I would say there isn't somebody that doesn't know somebody who's either gone missing, whose house has been bombed, kidnapped or killed. This is the most distressing time for the community, for this unprovoked.
Marie, can I just ask how, if it's even possible, are you comforting children within your community, children who'll be, perhaps watching programmes like this, seeing those photographs on the front pages of the newspapers? And how do you explain to them what is going on?
You can't. I won't even say on air what's happened to babies because it's so traumatic. For all of us in the community, our staff team, everyone, to see these barbaric murders, it's so horrific. I don't think people can easily ever recover from those sorts of images. It's not something that I thought that we would see in a modern world, I have to say. And we're doing all we can as a community. We're there for people, but it's the most very difficult time. I would like to thank the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition and the Leader of the Liberal Democrats. They have been absolutely incredible in their steadfast support and recognise that Israel has got the right to defend itself. And the Mayor of London and Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and has also made it very, very clear that people with the Home Secretary will be arrested and there won't be any tolerance. And there's a huge concern on the streets. More attacks already in Golders Green. A restaurant has had its windows smashed, and there's concern also at what might happen in schools, because last time there was a conflict, I'm afraid this happened in the UK.
Marie, I'm going to make this as brief as I can. I really appreciate you being on Talk Today. I did this an hour ago and I make no apologies. You say we have a right to survive. The Jewish community has a right to exist. I was sent by a Jewish friend of mine last night an article which to some people would be out there, but it makes some salient points that I'd like to put to you. It talked about that young woman who discovered her grandmother had been murdered because Hamas terrorists had come into her house, set up a camera, videoed killing her and then uploaded it on her Facebook. It talked about what they'd done to these children. I know you don't want to talk about this. They talked about slitting their throats and raping women. When you, with the work that you've done with the Jewish community, then hear, and I repeat, this is a fact, you can watch people gathered outside the Sydney Opera House in the last 48 hours, on the streets of London and the streets of Berlin. This, by the way, is not Palestinians. This is terrorists saying, and I quote, because it's a fact, gas and death to the Jewish community. Could you please, because I want the United Kingdom to understand how grave this is, how disgusting and immoral this is, and I want to talk about how we should all of us be behind the Jewish community, because this is absolutely, without question, this is ISIS-like, isn't it?
I completely agree with you, and the first thing to be behind the Jewish community are our national broadcasters. The BBC are refusing, despite the fact that our government has said that, and the opposition have said that Hamas are terrorists and they're prescribed by law. The BBC is refusing to say these people are terrorists. They are describing them as militants. I've written to the Director General and also to Lucy Fraser, who has also informed him that these people are terrorists. I've spoken to numerous politicians, and we're now in the situation where the BBC are not recognising exactly what you have said. It's murderous. I said earlier it's barbaric. It's so barbaric. You can't easily say it. I'll say it for you. Babies have been beheaded. It can't get any worse. It's absolutely essential that everyone understands this was an unprovoked war, a war of barbarism and violence. It's not acceptable.
Sorry.
I would ask.
Sorry, can I jump? There's a reason for me doing this, because a lot of people wouldn't have read this out because they'd have thought that it's the wrong thing to say. And I make no apology for this. Talk is about honesty. This is the thing that this article also says. At our most prestigious universities, there's a deafening silence from those social commentators and those administrators who jumped up and down, quite rightly about George Floyd and quite rightly about Ukraine. But I'm sorry, there's a lot of people who sit and they go, oh, but hold on a minute, the atrocities, what about Gaza? I get that, but this is an affront and an attack unprovoked on the Jewish community in its entirety. And that's what people need to understand, isn't it, Marie?
Exactly, that's what I was saying to you. They all need to understand it, but it clearly would help if the BBC would also understand it and refer to these people as terrorists, because they have a huge significance worldwide with broadcasting. And if we're all paying our licence fees and they're refusing to acknowledge it, that doesn't help us as much as the things that you're saying that I fully agree with. This was an unprovoked, murderous, barbaric attack, and I'm sure the whole world is shocked. It's not often that Downing Street is lit up with the Israeli flag and the Houses of Parliament. There is a reason for that, absolutely. It's a disgrace. I hope that all the interfaith partners that we have worked with over many years, I hope that we have those relationships, and they need to be stronger in times like this. People need to come together, but there is no excuse imaginable. It was a savage, barbaric, unprovoked attack on innocent civilians, beheading babies. It cannot get any worse.
Marie van der Zijl, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and just to send all of our love from the team here at Talk Today to everybody attending your vigils over the next few days.
That is very appreciated.
Thank you for joining us.